The southwestern United States is an arid desert with only one major water supply, the Colorado River. When state lines were drawn, water access in the area was restricted due to impediments of natural watersheds. As a result, American engineers in the 1930s to the 1960s focused on taming the wild river for the storage and distribution of water so that the region could be populated. It was through dams, such as the Hoover Dam, that engineers harnessed the resources of the Colorado River, allowing water to build up in reservoirs so it could be used in households, industry, irrigation, and power generation. Most of the dams built during this era still stand today and represent the extent to which path dependence dominates water management. Prior to the 1930s, crucial decisions involving water distribution in the Southwest were made with regards to drawing of state lines. In 1869, John Wesley Powell proposed a more organic layout for the states based on watershed and warned Congress of the possible consequences of taking too much control of the water resource. Despite this opinion, the states of the western U.S. were drawn as straight, rigid boxes, creating an unequal distribution of water. As a result of ignoring Powell, water allocation created problems, as a single water source had to be shared amongst many states, instead of each state having its own water supply. In this slide, you can see large rivers and waterways in the east, but only two in the southwest. The Colorado River has extremely high levels in the spring, sometimes causing floods, while it dries up by late summer. The river's flow needed to be regulated so that water was available year-round for residents to settle permanently. The only viable option for providing an adequate supply of water for residential, agricultural, and industrial use was through a series of dams. Not only did these dams provide water, but they were a source of hydroelectric power which contributed to the growing population in the Southwest. Although the river's dam system provided water for the Southwest for decades, today's drought has dropped water access to almost pre-innovation levels. Our increased dependence on water has raised its value, yet also diminishes the supply to levels too low to support a community. This means new regulations for water conservation need to be considered. One such tactic is prior appropriation, in which water rights are purchased and allocated based on productivity of use instead of through the basis of land ownership. During the 1930s to the 1960s, the Bureau of Reclamation's crusade to harness the resources of the Colorado River led to the construction of 29 dams. Hoover Dam was the first colossal dam built on the river, and its purpose was to store water for irrigation, prevent seasonal flooding, and produce hydroelectric power. The reservoir sitting behind this megadam is called Lake Mead and is the largest reservoir in the United States. Today, 44 dams stand on the Colorado River. Unfortunately, the development of such dams has set the American West on a path dependence that relies on massive infrastructure projects to support population growth. Massive dams like the Hoover or Glen Canyon dams create ecological desolation, disrupt the river's flow, and erase cultural landmarks. Today, the river no longer reaches the Gulf of California. The drought of the 1930s, as well as the need for hydroelectric power, justified the building of Hoover Dam. By 1940, hydroelectricity provided 40% of all generated electricity in America, and the dam provided most of the irrigation and drinking water for the West. In an effort to allocate the water evenly between the 7 reliant states, the Colorado River Compact of 1928 was signed into law. This compact divides the river basin into equal upper and lower divisions, both of which entered into their own compacts for water division amongst states. The Upper Colorado River Basin Compact appropriates 51.75% of the river's water to Colorado, 23% to Utah, 14% to Wyoming, and 11.25% to New Mexico. The lower basin states decided to divide water according to acre-feet, with California receiving the most water, Arizona entitled to half the amount as California, and Nevada receiving the least. Out of the 29 million acre-feet capacity of Lake Mead, 18.4 million acre-feet are responsible for joint use of the lower basin states. This includes municipal and industrial water supply, irrigation, and power. The extensive agreements between the government and states like Arizona, Nevada, and California allowed much of the river's flow to be diverted through extensive systems of pipes and aqueducts to be used by farms, businesses, and homes in the Southwest. This chart shows how water is appropriated between the states today, with California and Colorado being the primary beneficiaries of the river's water. While water distribution is still a vital component in today's world, the impact of water as energy has been largely diluted. Today, America generates roughly the same amount of hydroelectricity as in the 1960s, but it only comprises 7% of the overall energy production. Today, water of the Colorado River is still distributed for irrigation purposes based on environmental regulations implemented by the Johnson administration. It is also still used to power hydroelectric generators within dams. The current drought in the region has severely limited the availability of water for the use in agriculture and homes. Lake Mead currently sits at 30% its normal capacity, levels not seen since it was being filled in 1937. And Lake Powell, which sits behind the Glen Canyon Dam, is only filled to 56% capacity. This has created need for increased water restrictions on usage and fines for wasteful use of water. These regulations will hopefully ensure that the primary function of the river's water is conserved for future generations. Water was and still is a scarce and thus highly valued resource in the western United States. The Colorado River has played a crucial role in developing the western United States by providing agricultural irrigation, municipal water supply, and electricity. Just as Western civilization has developed and changed throughout time, the Colorado River itself has transitioned from an unpredictable natural component of the West to a regulated and integral element of Western civilization. Continued discussions of policy on usage will shape the future of this resource and how it can be used in the same way that past decisions have determined the state it is in now.